again, everyone. Ito po muli, si Dr. Ardith Tan. Nasa episode 16 na tayo ng MedChat, Your Health Questions Answered. Simula tayo sa episode 1, episode 16 na tayo, and nagkaroon kayo ng pagkakataon na ma-experience din ang iba-ibang hosts ng MedChat. Okay? So again, as a reminder to everyone, ang MedChat ay munting public service ng De La Salle University Medical Center ukol sa mga kondisyon at katanungang medikal. Ang layunin namin ay mabigyan kayo ng opinyong dalubhasa ukol sa mga kondisyong maaaring maging problema para sa inyo, sa mga mahal nyo sa buhay, sa inyong mga kapitbahay, sa mga makakakwentuhan nyo, o yung mga kasalamuhan nyo sa buhay. Because you know, in life, our aim really is just to share what we have or what we know with other people. Our featured topic today is prenatal care. And baka akalain nyo na ang prenatal care ng isang babaeng buntis ay isang simpleng bagay lang. Hindi. Alright? So para i-inform lang kayo, i-remind ko ang lahat. Kaya may calamities, bumagyo, lumindol, kaya may gera, okay? Kung merong pandemic man, and whether that pandemic is long and drawn out, tulad na nangyayari sa atin at sa buong mundo, for as long as men and women come together and have sexual contact, may mabubuntis dyan. At kapag may mabubuntis, may mga ngailangan ng prenatal care. Kaya mahalaga ang prenatal care. Alright? And just to inform you, as a matter of fact, sa mga international NGOs, I have a sister who is a part of an international NGO. If you're a surgeon, regardless kung general surgeon ka, orthopedic surgeon, or OB-gynecologist, the first thing that the NGO makes sure is that you know how to deliver a baby via cesarean section. Okay? Kung ikaw naman ay in a non-surgical field, halimbawa, internist ka, family medicine practitioner ka, general practitioner ka, ang una din tinuturo nila sa'yo ay paano magpaanak via vaginal spontaneous delivery o yung normal kung tawagin. Kasi, for as long as there are childbearing women in the world, at madami tayo, hindi pala ako kasama. Exempted na pala ako. Alright? At marami yung mga childbearing women in the world. And for as long as they're fully equipped with a functioning uterus, barring na wala silang problema sa kanilang tubo, fallopian tube, sa kanilang ovaryo, ovaries, pwede silang mabuntis. Okay? So today's episode should be an interesting and very informative one. So I'd like to move on and introduce our featured expert. She has the following credentials. She completed Doctor of Medicine at the Pamantasan ng Lungsod ng Maynila, and mind you, she graduated 7th in her graduating class. She did internship at the University of the Philippines, Philippine General Hospital. She did residency training in the Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology at the same institution. And hindi na satisfy si Doktora doon, she went on to fellowship training, and I'm glad that she did, in the section of maternal fetal medicine at the Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology at the same institution. She is a diplomate fellow of the Philippine Obstetrical and Gynecological Society. She is a fellow of the Philippine Society of Maternal Fetal Medicine, and she is a fellow of the Philippine Society of Ultrasound in Obstetrics and Gynecology. Kung tawagin nila yung mga OB-SONO. Okay? So please welcome our featured expert for today, Dr. May Moran Nueva Hipolito. Dr. May?
Hi, ma'am.
Hi. Okay, so ito na si Dr. May, and she will explain to us the importance of having adequate and proper prenatal care. And beyond that, papaliwanag din ni Dr. May sa inyo kung ano naging effect ng pandemic, di ba, Dr. May?
Kasi kasama po yan.
Yun, kasi may pandemic o wala, may nabubuntis. Okay, so I give the floor to you.
Thank you, Dr. Ardith. Again, magandang araw sa inyong lahat. Nandito po ako upang mag-discuss ukol sa prenatal care. So, bakit importante ang prenatal care? Unang-una, ito ay parang mapanatili ang kalusugan at magandang pangangatawan ng isang nagdadalang tao. Pangalawa, tinutukoy nito yung mga kababaihan na at risk for developing complications ng dahil na rin sa pagbubuntis or sa mga sakit na meron sila even prior to pregnancy. Pangatlo, ang mga obstetricians are very proud kami sa fact na we have 2 patients at a time. We have the mommy and the baby. So, kailangan din namin ma-make sure na malusog si baby. And this is done through prenatal care. And initiate plan for continuing obstetric care. Prenatal care naman kasi hindi lang isa, 2 beses yan. It can continue up until 9 months plus plus. Kasi nga, ang pagbubuntis, hindi lang naman din 9 months yan. It's a misnomer kasi ang 9 months is equivalent to 36 weeks. But full term in obstetrics is 36 weeks plus 1 week. So that is 37 weeks. Sana po yung malinaw sa ating lahat. Sa buong mundo, 303,000 na kababaihan ang namamatay kada taon dahil sa komplikasyon ng pagbubuntis at panganganak. And 830 women ang namamatay kada araw. That is equivalent to 1 woman every 2 minutes ang namamatay dahil sa complications of pregnancy and childbirth. And ito'y nangyayari in 99% sa developing countries. Okay, napapabilang dito ang Pilipinas. And adolescents are twice likely to die from pregnancy and childbirth. When you say adolescents, yan po yung mga teen moms, yung mga nagbubuntis ng napakaagang from age of 13 up until 19 years old. So sila po yung nagdadalang tao at they're high risk. The socioeconomic factors, ano bang dahilan kung bakit mataas yung maternal morbidity and mortality dahil na rin sa pagbubuntis at sa complications ito. Meron tayong poor women's health and nutrition, poor hygiene and care during childbirth, inadequate, inaccessible, and unaffordable healthcare services, and kahirapan. Well, actually, yung unang tatlong na-mention ko, dahil na rin yon sa kahirapan. Sumunod, lack of information. Yung mga buntis natin, hindi enough yung kanilang impormasyon ukol sa mga bagay-bagay, definitely, hindi sila makakapag-desisyon ng maayos. Ito sa dahilan kung bakit tayo merong MedChat. Okay, para matugunan yung problema, yung lack of information, and of course, the lack of decision-making of pregnant women. The main causes of maternal morbidity and mortality, hindi pa rin nagbabago yan. Alta presyon, infeksyon, at saka pagdurugo. Yan pa rin yung type 3 na dahilan kung bakit nagkakaproblema or even namamatay mga buntis or mga bagong panganak. When should I have prenatal care? So, kailan ba dapat pumunta sa isang healthcare provider? By the way, ang prenatal care hindi lang binibigay ng isang obstetrician gynecologist. Pwedeng magbigay ng prenatal care ang isang general practitioner, isang nurse, midwife, or even a barangay health worker as long as they're trained to do or to give the prenatal care. So pag regular kang nagre-regla at ilang araw na ay hindi pa dumadating ang buwan ng dalaw mo dun sa in-expect mong day, and then definitely pwede ka nang sumangguni sa iyong healthcare provider para ma-confirm kung ikaw ay buntis. Most of the time naman dahil nagkalat even sa groceries yung mga PT kits, pwede nang bumili nun, and then pag mag-positive, pwede nang pumunta agad sa doctor. Actually, kahit negative yon dahil nakamiss ka ng menses mo, kailangan mo pa rin sumangguni kasi ibig sabihin sira yung regla mo. Okay? And then, during your prenatal check-up, ano bang ina-expect mo? So, wag pong magagalit or maiinip kapag yung unang encounter niyo sa doktor ay medyo matagal. Okay? Marami pong itatanong sa inyo because this is the getting to know portion of the prenatal care. Your first encounter with your doctor or your healthcare provider. So definitely we'll ask about the history, the socio-demographic risk, ano ang iyong relihiyon, taga saan ka, ilang taon ka, of course, obstetric, pang ilang pagbubuntis na to, ano yung way ng panganganak mo dun sa previous pregnancies mo, umabot ba siya ng full term, dinugo ka ba, na-nursery ba ang baby mo, menstrual, kung buwanan bang dumadating ang regla, meron ka bang dysmenorrhea, sexual, are you satisfied with yung sexual intercourse mo with your husband, or nakakaramdam ba ng pananakit every time may sexual intercourse? Contraceptive, gumamit ba ng contraceptive method? Well-spaced bang pagbubuntis na ito? Or nabuntis ka ba habang nagtitake ka ng pills? So we have to know that. Regarding sa family, kung meron bang mga sakit sa pamilya na maaring mamana or even abnormalities na maaring mamana. And then medical, if you have other medical problems na alam mo na, natukoy na even prior to pregnancy. Nutritional, meron ka bang preferred na diet? Masyado ka bang maarte sa pagkain? Meron ka lang gustong kainin? Okay? And then infection, kung palagian bang nagkaka-infection in a year, kung 4 times nagkaka-infection, kailangang i-address yan. And of course, yung psychological aspect. On physical examination, definitely we have to know the height, The weight, okay, regarding sa timbang, kukunin po namin yung current na timbang, but mas importante actually para malaman natin yung magiging complications ng pagbubuntis base doon sa pre-pregnancy weight. So mas importante po iyon. Hihingin din namin yun sa inyo. And of course, the blood pressure. I-check din namin yung tiyan, kung medyo malaki na, i-measure namin kung gaano kataas yung matres na may baby inside. We can do the Lupus maneuvers just to check kung paano yung position ng baby, and definitely we have to check kung merong fetal heart tones. Ang heart tones o yung heartbeat ni baby, ang normal po base sa WHO ay 110 to 160. And definitely, pahihigain namin kayo, okay, para examinin sa puwerta. Hindi lang yung mukha yung minimemorize namin, pati yung puwerta kailangan namin i-check. Yes, so wag pong magugulat kung pahihigain at kailangan magtanggal ng underwear during the first encounter with your doctor. Lab examinations, medyo madami po ito. But basically, we request for the CBC with platelet count and differential count. Twice po itong ginagawa during the whole duration of your pregnancy. We usually repeat it, pinapaulit po at 6 months age of gestation. The blood type and the RH factor, we have to know kung positive or negative kasi ang negative po na RH factor may impact din sa pagbubuntis, lalo na sa mga susunod na pagbubuntis. Meron po kaming binibigay na gamot para yung susunod na pagbubuntis niyo ay magiging healthy din si baby or successful. Okay, the urine gram staining culture and sensitivity. Ideally, kapag binigyan kayo ng request, urine GSCS po dapat ang i-request. Kaya lang medyo may kamahalan, so umaangal ang mga pasyente. So urinalysis po muna, and then kung merong infection, the post-treatment culture and sensitivity na lang po yung pinapagawa namin. Okay, and then fasting blood sugar, kung wala namang risk for diabetes, fasting blood sugar po muna yung nire-request namin, 8 hours at least of fasting. And then at 24 to 28 weeks, 6 to 7 months, nagre-request po kami ng 75 grams OGTT, which is the oral glucose tolerance test, upang malaman kung meron kang risk na magkaroon ng diabetes during pregnancy. We also request for screening for hepatitis B, test for sexually transmitted infections, particularly yung syphilis po, gonorrhea and chlamydia, lalo na sa mga high-risk individuals, particularly mga adolescents. Okay? Sila po yung at risk for STIs. We also have to check the rubella serology. Kailangan kasi malaman kung sino yung mga candidates for bakuna postpartum na. Hindi naman natin kasi nibigyan ng bakuna ang mga buntis ng rubella kasi live attenuated yung laman ng bakuna. Pwede silang magkaroon ng infection kapag mabibigyan sila ng rubella vaccine during their pregnancy. And then illicit drug screening, especially for those who are high risk, yung mga kabataan, no? Marami sa kanila ang maaaring gumagamit ng ipinagbabawal na gamot. So kailangan din silang i-check for illicit drug use. Pinapacheck din natin yung HIV, kasama na siya. Lahat na ng buntis ay chine-check or siniscreen for human immunodeficiency virus. The pap smear, okay, ginagamit siya para pang screen ng cervical cancer. Napaka-importante nito, lalo na sa populasyon natin dito sa Pilipinas because we're high risk for cervical cancer. At the same time, ito lang kasi this is an opportunistic approach, kumbaga, dahil ito lang yung time na madalas nag-visit ang isang babae sa kanyang doktor kasi nga siya ay buntis. Several visits yun up until mag-deliver siya. Plus, the pap smear can also detect several infections na kung hindi makita, hindi ma-detect, definitely hindi matitreat, and that will cause preterm labor, pag hindi mapigilan, preterm delivery, and even maagang pagputok ng panubigan. Ito na po pagka merong risk for diabetes ang pasyente, high risk, so meron siyang signs and symptoms ng diabetes like madalas sa pag-inom, pag-ihi, lakas kumain, pero medyo yung paglakas ng pagkain hindi ganun ka-reliable because most of the time, pregnant patients ay laging gutom. Okay, more than 25 years, if you have a relative or yung parents mo ay merong diabetes, then you're at high risk for developing gestational diabetes mellitus. Okay, 75 grams OGTT po ang pinapagawa. If on the heavy side, no, medyo chubby si mommy, maganda ding ma-check ang mapagawang 75 grams OGTT. Kung may mga anak noon na may mga congenital anomalies at saka may history of polycystic ovaries. Actually, napakarami ng kababaihan ngayon ang may PCOS. And pag may PCOS, dapat pong i-check agad yung sugar. Anong mga nare-request ng isang healthcare provider Anong klaseng ultrasound? We have the transvaginal ultrasound during the first 3 months of pregnancy. Yan pong nire-request. Yung purpose po ng first time scan is to, of course, establish yung viability kung buhay ba yung baby mo. Nasaan ba siya? Nasa loob ba ng matres or baka ectopic? And mahalaga siya kasi kung anong i-declare na expected date of confinement sa first ultrasound, yan na yung susundan. Okay? Kung sinabi ng first time scan, your EDD is April 4 na yan. You will have subsequent scans like what I have listed here. Merong pwedeng biometry, susukatin yung baby mo, may biophysical profile, tapos every time ultrasound ka, iba-iba yung EDD na ibibigay. Okay? Pero hindi nyo napapansinin yun. Importante lang yung mga subsequent scans para masukat yung baby at malaman yung kanyang behavior, the breathing tone and movement. But the EDD ay dapat nakabase dun sa very first ultrasound. Okay? I have here the congenital anomaly scan. Ito yung ultrasound na tinitingnan yung kabuuan ni baby. Chine-check kung meron siyang bingot, binibilang yung daliri niya, kung meron bang bukol sa tiyan, kung merong bara sa bituka, or may problema sa puso, makikita yan sa congenital anomaly scan. And it is done at 18 to 22 weeks. We also have the 4D ultrasound. Yan yung makikita yung mukha ni baby. And the Doppler studies, if gusto nating malaman yung blood flow going to the mattress and to the baby, especially kung ang baby ay maliit than what we're expecting or yung tubig medyo konti, okay? Or kung merong ibang problema like thalassemia or yung antiphospholipid antibody syndrome, yan pong nire-request na namin ng Doppler studies. Hindi po yan sa lahat ng buntis ay nire-request. Pre-pandemic, ito pong schedule ng prenatal check-up. From 0 to 7 months hanggang 28 weeks, once a month dapat bumibisita ang isang buntis sa kanyang healthcare provider. And then at 28 and 1 to up to 32 weeks, every 2 weeks po. And then 9 months, weekly na dapat dumadalaw ang buntis sa kanyang doktor. Pero nang dumating si COVID-19, nag-iba po ang schedule ng prenatal check-up. Okay? If the age of gestation is less than 11 weeks, ideally teleconference po ang ginagawa. Subalit kung merong ang risk na kasi nagdudugo yung pasyente, masakit ang tiyan at siya'y buntis at maiisip na baka may ectopic or ectopic pregnancy ang meron yung pasyente, then ultrasound dapat ay ipagawa ng mas maaga. Okay? But kung wala naman, the ultrasound for dating ay ginagawa at 11 to 13 weeks. So merong consult yan, pwedeng face-to-face sa doktor. And then, nagre-request na rin ng ultrasound for dating. That is just to establish the age of gestation of the baby. And we have here the NT, the nuchal translucency, na chine-check din para dyan malalaman kung merong possibility na ang baby mo ay merong mongolism or yung trisomy 21 or yung Down syndrome. Okay, yung tawag sa kanya. And then at 5 months, visit again, dyan ginagawang ultrasound for anatomy, which is the congenital anomaly scan that I have mentioned, yung minention ko dun sa previous na slide ko. At 7 months, another visit. Dyan, ipapagawa yung mga lab examinations at kung merong vaccines na ibibigay, pwede na ibigay dyan. And then 32 weeks, another visit, ultrasound kung kinakailangan or kung minsan i-request ng patient, then why not? At 9 months, another visit, ultrasound if indicated, and then merong siniscreen for HIV and GBS, Pero yung HIV po kasi, in practice, at the onset, nire-request na namin yan. Kasabay ng mga ibang laboratories ng isang buntis, kagaya ng mga CBC urinalysis, sinasabay na namin yung HIV. At 37 weeks after delivery, may visit din po yan, and then postpartum, ideally teleconference na po. Okay? So what are the 10 danger signs of pregnancy? Ano bang kailangan antabayanan kapag nagbubuntis na dapat sumangguni na agad sa doktor or sa healthcare provider? Una-una is pagdurugo. Any form of bleeding during pregnancy is hindi okay. So you really have to consult kung ano man ang dahilan yan. Tuloy-tuloy at matinding pagsakit ng ulo, panlalabo ng paningin, pagsakit ng tiyan, particularly dun sa area ng sikmura or sa right upper quadrant, sa area ng atay, lalo na sa mga buntis na merong hypertension. Edema of the face and the fingers, kung namamagang mukha at mga daliri, kailangan na rin sumangguni sa Doktor, ang edema po ng paa, okay, at ng legs, very common yan among pregnant patients. Hindi naman magpapanik kung medyo namamagana yung paa or yung legs na. Dahil nga yung gravid uterus, yung bigat na in-exert ng mattress na may baby inside and the water in the placenta, nagkukos po siya ng pagdagan dun sa mga great vessels sa tiyan. Kaya po medyo hirap mag-circulate yung water, yung fluid from the lower extremities. Persistent vomiting, okay? Tuloy-tuloy na pagsusuka, lalo na kung wala nang ma-intake na even water, kailangan pong pumunta na sa doktor. Merong lagnat at may chills, hirap umihi, masakit umihi. Merong lumabas na tubig na marami, parang ihi pero hindi ka naman umihi. And hindi mo mapigilan. Okay, if you try to parang pigilan yung pag-flow ng lumalabas na water, hindi mo siya magawa. Likely that's your bag of waters already. And decrease in fetal movement. Kung hindi masyado gumagalaw si baby, kailangan nang pumunta sa doktor. Ang normal pong fetal movement is 10 movements in 2 hours. Mas magalaw, mas maganda. Ito naman ang in-expect nating pagbigat or pag-gain ng weight during pregnancy. So as you can see, definitely kung baseline ay chubby kayo like me, the weight na i-gain mo should be less than 7 kilograms. At kung mas payat naman kayo, of course, mas malaki yung dapat na timbang na idadagdag mo. Kasi kapag extremes yung timbang, meron ding negative na impact yan sa pagbubuntis. Okay? So diet recommendations, so pregnant women should increase their usual servings from the 4 basic food groups. And then, mas magandang kumain ng mas maraming prutas at gulay. Oh, that's basic naman, alam naman na natin yan, no? 9 or more servings of whole grains or enriched breads and cereals. Pwedeng mag-take ng low-fat or non-fat milk, yogurt, and other dairy products like cheese for calcium. And of course, more proteins. Ayan, ang usual tanong, kailangan ba talagang uminom ng vitamina? Usual tanong to ng mga pasyente na hirap uminom ng mga capsules or tablets. So ito pong sagot siya. A healthy diet can still miss out on some of the important vitamins and minerals. So kahit na feeling mo kumakain ka ng maayos, hindi pa rin sapat yung ibibigay ng food intake mo para tustusan yung mga pangangailangan regarding sa vitamina at sa minerals during pregnancy. And the average Filipino woman may not be able to meet the required daily dietary allowances for all the nutrients except vitamin A. And it is helpful, so malaking tulong ang pag-take ng daily multivitamins or prenatal vitamins and mineral supplementations sa pananatiling malusog ang pagbubuntis, okay, especially the mom and the baby. Okay, for both the mom and the baby. To prevent neural tube defects, pregnant patients are asked to take folic acid, that is vitamin B9, 0.4 milligrams daily 3 months prior to pregnancy up to 3 months of pregnancy or during the first trimester. So ideally nga, even prior to pregnancy, dapat nag-take na ng folic acid. Okay? And then to prevent iron deficiency anemia, pwedeng mag-take ng iron, elemental iron, 30 milligrams from the second trimester onwards. We don't usually give iron during the first 3 months of pregnancy kasi nga madalas nagsusuka pa yung buntis and iron is a gastric irritant, maaring ma-aggravate pa yung pagsusuka. Kaya usually we start it on second trimester onwards. And yung pag-increase ng volume ng dugo, nangyayari siya during the second trimester. So wala pang masyadong effect or hindi pa masyadong kailangan ng iron during the first 3 months of pregnancy. Calcium carbonate 2 times a day. Ang calcium ay binibigay twice a day because the RDA or ang kinakailangang calcium sa katawan ng isang buntis ay sinasabing 1.2 to 1.5. Sa ibang literature, sinasabing 2 grams per day. Kaya twice a day pong pinapatik namin yung calcium carbonate. And the calcium na available sa market is 600 milligrams po eh. Kaya dapat 2 beses isang araw siya. Okay? So, do I need to have vaccines? Or anong vaccine ba ang pwede sa buntis? First, we have the influenza vaccine. Okay, the flu vaccine, it can be given any time during the pregnancy, even sa first trimester. Okay, all should receive flu vaccine, especially during the flu season from June to November. So ngayong panahon na to, sana po ay naka-receive na kayo ng inyong flu vaccine kasi we are still in the flu season. Pandemic po ngayon, lahat ay ini-encourage na magpa-flu vaccine. Para at least kung magkaroon ng flu symptoms, we'll eliminate na yung possibility na baka flu lang yon. Kung meron kang flu symptoms, mas mag-iisip ka na baka COVID yon. Okay, TD or tetanus, diphtheria or Tdap, 0.5 milligrams IM. First dose, single tetanus toxoid anytime after 14 weeks age of gestation. The second dose, Tdap at 7 months, and the third dose 6 months after the first dose. And ang booster po ay binibigay every 10 years. Okay? And then hepatitis B, for those patients na negative sa hepatitis B screening, or kung yun naman naka-receive na dati ng hepatitis B vaccine pero negative or non-reactive pa rin yung anti-HBs, dapat bigyan sila. So intramuscularly, dosage at 0, 1, 6 months. So ang mga bakuna po, for it to be effective, kailangan kung paano ni-recommend ibigay, yun po sanang susundan. And kung 3 doses ang kailangan, 3 doses po ang dapat matanggap. Okay? So nandito na tayo sa in at hot na issue ng COVID vaccine. So ano pong available sa ating gobyerno? Okay, sa local government units, ano bang mga ino-offer sa atin? We have the Pfizer-BioNTech and Moderna, which are mRNA vaccines. Yung Sinovac po, inactivated vaccine, and we have the Oxford, AstraZeneca, J&J, and Gamaleya, which are viral vector vaccines. We also have the Novavax, which is a protein subunit vaccine, which is hindi naman po available sa atin. Ito po yung listahan or nakatala dito kung gaano ka-effective yung mga bakuna na meron tayo ngayon na ino-offer dito sa ating bansa. So Pfizer ang the best base dito sa tala na ito. We have AstraZeneca, followed by Moderna, and then Sinovac, J&J. Gamaleya Sputnik, ang nilagay lang po is the overall efficacy, but wala po silang sinabi regarding their efficacy against severe COVID infection. Same with Novavax, overall efficacy lang po ang nakatala. So alin po ba dito ang pwede ninyong ipaturok sa inyo if gusto nyong magpa-inject? The Pfizer, the AstraZeneca, Sinovac, Moderna, J&J, pwedeng-pwede po yan. Gamaleya po ay hindi. Kasi yung mismong manufacturers ng Gamaleya nagsabi na hindi sila pwedeng ibigay sa buntis. Because nag-i-increase po yung risk na magkaroon ng blood clots sa katawan kapag po binigay yung Gamaleya Sputnik. But the rest, pwede pong tanggapin ng isang buntis. So our COVID-19 vaccine safe for pregnant patients? Definitely. Safety profiles are very good against COVID-19. Side effects? Pwede namang walang side effect. Pwede rin magkaroon ng side effect, but they're usually very mild. They last lang po for 1 to 2 days. So what are the side effects? Pwede po magkaroon ng pain, pamumula, or pamamaga kung saan ka na-injectionan. Paano re-remedyohan ito? Pwede po mag-take ng paracetamol and mag-apply ng cold compress dun sa injection site. How about systemic effects? We have yung fever, pananakit ng ulo, ng katawan, at yung panghihina ng katawan. Pwede pong mag-take ng paracetamol. So paracetamol po is very safe sa mga buntis. Pwede pong gamitin yan para sa lagnat or sa sakit sa katawan. Advice to drink lots of water. Mga buntis po ideally, in-encourage na mag-take ng maraming tubig. Dapat po ay 3 to 4 liters per day. Kasi yun yung napag-aralan na effective upang maparami yung amniotic fluid at ma-address yung mga problema na ang dahilan ay mababang amount ng fluid sa katawan. Meron naman po ding tinatawag na rare na effect ng bakuna, which is yung anaphylaxis. Yan yung biglaan pong babagsak yung blood pressure, may hihimatay yung pasyente, or may hihirapang huminga. Meron namang pong remedyo dyan. Pwedeng bigyan ng epinephrine intramuscularly. Okay? Yan pong rason kung bakit hindi po agad-agad pinapauwi ang mga pasyenteng nabakunahan. They're asked to stay dun sa site kung saan sila binakunahan para i-observe just in case magkaroon ng adverse reaction, which is yung anaphylaxis. Let me just reiterate po, no? Ang COVID-19 vaccination ay safe sa pagbubuntis at sa nagpapasuso. Okay, although, yun nga, limited ang safety data on COVID vaccines and pregnant patients kasi napakabago naman po nitong virus na ito. Plus of course, mas bago pa yung bakuna dahil nagawa lang naman just to address the problem. Pero po, mas malaki pa rin yung benepisyong nakukuha kapag mabakunahan ng isang buntis kaysa magkaroon siya ng infection ng COVID-19. So ano bang effect ng COVID-19 infection sa buntis? Pwedeng mas mataas ang risk niya magkaroon ng pregnancy-induced hypertension like preeclampsia and eclampsia. Infections requiring antibiotics. Mas mataas ang risk niyang ma-admit sa ICU at ma-hook sa mechanical ventilator. Pwedeng mas matagal siya mag-stay sa hospital. Tumataas din ang mga bilang ng kababaihan na nanganganak via cesarean section pag nagkaroon ng COVID-19 infection. For sa premature birth, maagang mailalabas or kulang sa buwan na ipapanganak yung baby. Pwede siyang mamatay sa loob. Or kung malagpasan niya man yung pagbubuntis, pwede namang mamatay naman din ang baby during the first 28 days ng kanyang kapanganakan. Okay? The vaccine is preferably given at 14 weeks. So pag 14 weeks pataas na po yung age of gestation, pwede na pong magpabakuna. Subalit kung ang buntis ay at risk for acquiring COVID-19 or at high risk for acquiring COVID-19 infection, pwede siyang ibigay anytime. Anytime available. Even during the first 3 months of pregnancy, pwede po siyang bakunahan. Particularly mga frontliners, no? Pwedeng bakunahan during the first 3 months of pregnancy. And women should be counseled on the benefits of vaccination as well as common side effects of the vaccines. And women should continue breastfeeding even after receiving COVID-19 vaccine. Hindi po kailangan mag-stop mag-breastfeed before magpabakuna or after mabakunahan. So tuloy-tuloy lang po yung pagpapasuso kay baby. Wala pong problema. Okay, again, these are the COVID vaccines na pwedeng tanggapin ng isang pregnant patient except Sputnik Gamaleya, which is the vaccine produced by the Russians. Okay, ito naman po, punta naman tayo sa mga usual na katanungan ng mga buntis. Okay, what should I avoid during pregnancy? Definitely alcohol. Okay, it can cross the placenta. At kung makalusot siya sa inunan, definitely meron siyang effect sa baby. Okay, it can cause intrauterine growth restriction. Hindi maganda yung paglaki ni baby while nasa matres or nasa sinapupunan ni mommy. And we have what we call the fetal alcohol syndrome. Okay, ito po ayan yung mga nakikita niyo sa picture, yan yung effect ng alcohol kapag tinitake ni mommy habang nagde-develop si baby. Smoking, again, it's also a no-no. Okay, it can cause low birth weight. Pwedeng mag-contract ng matres even hindi pa husto ang buwan. And kung hindi mapigilan, pwedeng manganak ng kulang sa buwan. And then premature rupture of membranes, maagang pagputok ng panubigan. We have abruptio placenta, yung maagang paghihiwalay ng inunan sa pagkakadikit nito doon sa dingding ng matres. So pwedeng mag-cause yun ng definitely kamatayan ni baby and pwedeng ma-jeopardize yung status or yung condition ni mommy kung hindi maagapan. Pagdurugo, effected niya ng smoking and sudden infant death syndrome. How about artificial sweeteners? Dun sa mga diabetic patients or fond of taking yung Splenda para lang makabawas konti dun sa calories or sa sweets. Ano bang sinasabi? When used in moderation, most pregnant women can use the non-nutritive sweeteners approved by the US FDA. So, meron to Splenda, Equal, Sweet and Low, or pwede naman din yung mas natural which is yung stevia. Okay. How about caffeine? So marami din sa atin ang addict sa kape like myself. Caffeine can be found in colas, of course coffee, tea, cocoa. It's a diuretic, nakakapagpaihip po yan at maaaring mag-cause ng dehydration kung hindi mag-replace ng tubig after ng intake. It can affect also the fetal heart rate and the breathing. Pwedeng bumilis ang pagtibok ng puso ni baby but that is transient naman. Siyempre, it's not bawal. So, ni-research ko na rin po yan. You can just limit the intake of your coffee na 3 to 5 cups per day or less than 300 milligrams per day. So you can take coffee. Allowable activities, definitely walking, climbing the stairs, swimming, cycling, even running. Okay, pero kailangan ko lang pong linawin, no? Kung ang pasyente is talagang nag-exercise, tumatakbo siya, nagbabike siya, even prior to pregnancy, then we can allow these pregnant patients to do kung ano yung activity nila prior to the pregnancy. Pero kung itong si mother ay mag-exercise, maisipin niya mag-exercise, dahil lang siya, kung kailan buntis, tsaka mag-exercise, tsaka tatakbo, tsaka magbabike, wag na lang. Okay? Kasi hindi naman niya ginagawa yan prior to pregnancy. Long distance travel, pwede namang mag-travel ang pregnant patients. They can travel by land, sea, or air. It has no harm in pregnancy. But definitely, before lumarga, no, kailangan makita ng doktor prior to travel. They are encouraged, if the mother is driving, they're encouraged to wear seat belts or kahit sa aeroplano, no? Kailangan merong proper way of using the seat belt. So, nandyan po sa larawan, sa slide ko kung paanong ang tamang paraan ng pagsusuot ng seat belt. Pregnant patients should also be allowed to stand and walk every 2 hours para maiwasan yung pagbubuo ng dugo dun sa lower extremities. Can I take a bath? Nako, definitely. Walang objection to taking a bath during pregnancy. Hindi po bawal ang maligo, bawal po ang mabaho. Okay? Pero so far na wala pang buntis ang nagtatanong sa akin ukol dito. Ang usual na problema is postpartum. So even postpartum, hindi po bawal ang maligo. Okay, ang anak niyo ay araw-araw naliligo at magpapasuso kayo. So nakakahiya naman sa baby ninyo, hindi kayo naliligo pero siya naliligo. Again, bawal ang maligo, bawal ang mabaho. Okay, can I have sex? Pwede bang makipagtalik during pregnancy? Pwede naman. So sexual intercourse does no harm during pregnancy provided walang problema na let's say naaakmang makunan or nagpe-preterm labor. Kasi kung may preterm labor at threatened abortion, wag na. Kasi pag dinugo, of course magpapanik kayo. Biglang mapapatawag sa doktor, yun pala nag-sex kaya dinugo. What are the common complaints during pregnancy? Pagsusuka at pagkahilo. It occurs during the first 3 months particularly, and usually subsides in the 4th month. Very common ito, lalo na kung ang sex ng baby ay babae. Nasusulat po yan sa libro namin na kapag babae ang anak, napakaselan magbuntis ng mommy. And this is what we call also the morning sickness, but we all know that it's a misnomer. The nausea and vomiting can occur anytime during the day or 24 hours kung ano mang gustuhin niya kung kailan man mangyaring nausea and vomiting. So hindi lang po siya sa umaga. Kahit sa gabi, sa tanghali, pwede po yan mangyari. Ito ang dahilan po nito is nag-i-increase yung hormones, particularly the beta-HCG. Anong maaring gawin? Iwasan po ang pagkain ng mga spicy food, kumain ng madalas pero paonti-onti, pwede rin pong mag-munch ng ice chips, and of course, dapat kapag sobra ng sukat, wala na kayong na-take na even water, hindi na replace whatever yung nailabas ninyo, that will cause dehydration. So, kailangan pong sumangguni na sa doktor. Constipation or pagtitibi. Ang dahilan po nito ay yung hormone sa ating progesterone. Medyo natatamad po yung mga bituka nating gumalaw dahil na lang sa effect ng progesterone. It can cause muscle relaxation. So, pinamanage ito by allowing the pregnant patients to take a high amount of fluid. Sabi ko nga, 3 to 4 liters per day can actually address that. Pwede rin kumain ng maraming gulay, prutas, and pwede rin mag-take ng mga gamot like the bulk-forming laxatives. Okay? Low back pain. This is due to exaggerated lordosis or pagliyad dahil nga bumibigat or lumalaki yung tiyan, and the muscular spasm secondary to the change in yung position. Okay? So anong gagawin dito? Pag umupo, kailangan merong back support. Ideally, pag may kukunin sa sahig, huwag mag-bend. Okay? Dapat mag-squat po. Avoid high-heeled shoes. Although may marami pa ring buntis na hindi sila sanay ng mga flat, kahit buntis naka-high heel sila. Okay? And then analgesics, they can take paracetamol, that is very safe for pregnant patients. And of course, rest. Varicosities, ang mga varicose veins po, pag meron kang kamag-anak, yung nanay yung tatay mo ay merong varicose, then pwede nyo pong mamana yan. Pwede din po siyang exaggerate with prolonged standing. Varicosities become prominent as pregnancy advances and weight increases. So anong pwedeng gawin? Pwedeng magpahinga, pwede pong itaas yung legs, or pwede magsuot ng elastic stockings kagaya ng nasa larawan sa aking slide. Okay, hemorrhoids. Ang hemorrhoids ay dahil sa obstruction ng venous return by the enlarged uterus. So pag lumalaki talaga yung matres, dumadagan siya doon sa mga great vessels doon sa tiyan. Okay? So pwedeng makaapekto siya doon sa blood flow papunta doon sa may puwet natin. Okay? So nagkakaroon ng almoranas. Ang almoranas po is very common sa mga nagbubuntis. Paano siya minamanage? Pwedeng mag-take ng stool softeners like Senocot, okay, the Senocides. Pwede din pong hot seats bath, or pwede ding may mga pinapahid or iniinom para maremedyohan yung hemorrhoids. But of course, stool softeners and hot seats bath po muna tayo. Yung hemorrhoids po ay kadalasang hindi naman inooperahan pag buntis. Unless of course, sobrang sakit na, hindi na comfortable yung buntis, maaring surgical ang remedyo. Pero kung hindi po, nire-assess yan 6 weeks pagkapanganak kapag in-expect na natin wala nang effect yung hormones of pregnancy. Okay, heartburn, bumabalik po kasi yung gastric contents from the tiyan dun sa lower part ng esophagus. This is due to the upward displacement and compression of the stomach by the enlarged uterus. Okay, paanong ginagawa? Kumain ng madalas pero paunti-unti, and pagkakain, paghihiga agad. Okay, tayo muna, walk. And then you can also take antacids. Thialism, yung profuse na salivation, paglalaway due to stimulation of the salivary glands with the ingestion of starch. So pwedeng i-avoid muna yung diets high in starch, or pwede ring mag-take ng ice chips kung na-experience itong matinding paglalaway. Pagkapagod, halos lahat naman ng buntis ay mukhang pagod, hagardo, especially pag malapit na mga anak, hindi na makatulog. So normal talaga yan na madaling mapagod ng buntis, and syempre kung may time of rest, or she should be allowed to rest whenever she feels so. Okay. So in summary, dito na tayo sa end ng ating lecture. So prenatal care is essential, napaka-importante ng prenatal care para mapanatiling malusog si mommy at si baby, because healthy mommies produce healthy babies. So prenatal care should start as soon as you doubt that you're pregnant. The recommended weight gain in healthy pregnant women is 25 to 35 pounds. An average Filipino woman may not be able to meet the necessary dietary allowance, and therefore prenatal supplementation is very important. Folic acid should be started 3 months prior to pregnancy up until 3 months pregnancy. Elemental iron is also included dun sa iniinom ng isang buntis. Yung tetanus toxoid, the hepatitis B, the flu vaccines are recommended during pregnancy. Of course, the COVID-19 vaccination. Lifestyle changes are necessary to achieve a healthy pregnancy. Again, prenatal visits are less during this pandemic so as to minimize, para hindi masyado ma-expose ang buntis sa COVID virus. Pregnant patients, particularly 14 weeks age of gestation and even breastfeeding, can receive EUA-approved COVID-19 vaccine except Sputnik Gamaleya. So thank you very much. Maraming salamat po sa inyong pakikinig at sana'y maging safe po tayong lahat.
Thank you very much, Dr. May. I think that was a very informative and extensive discussion. Okay, may ikaklaro lang ako sa ating mga tagapakinig, sa audience natin. Yung binanggit ni Dr. May kanina na rubella or German measles, sa Tagalog, siya ay tigdas o tipdas hangin. Okay? And then, yung transvaginal ultrasound na binanggit ni Dr. May, siya yung ultrasound na pinadadaan sa puwerta. For those of you na hindi familiar dun sa term. Okay? Ngayon, Dr. May mga katanungan lang ako, no? Unang-una, bakit nagiging high risk ang adolescent pregnancies? Para maintindihan ng ating mga kababayan kung bakit, unang-una, gusto sana nating i-prevent ang teen pregnancies. Pero, whether we like it or not, lumalaganap siya. And you know that our general mindset sa ating bayan, our national government doesn't really promote a very comprehensive method of family planning. Okay? Kasi parang during the past decade, bumaba na yung pag-promote ng family planning sa ating mga kababayan. So can you just expound more on bakit mahalaga na ang teen pregnancies ay ma-prevent, number one, at pag andyan na, paano siya i-address at bakit siya high risk?
Define ko po muna yung adolescent pregnancy. No? When you say adolescent pregnancy, or aka teen mom, ang edad po ng bata, first in teens, no? 13 up until 19 years old. Kadalasan nire-refer sila sa high-risk expert because as it is, high-risk yung pagbubuntis nila. Unang-una, they're prone to have or madalas silang nagkakaroon ng mga babies na kulang sa timbang. Unang-una, anong dahilan? So bakit ganoon? Kasi nga yung nutrition nila hindi rin enough. Kadalasan hindi sila nakakapagpa-prenatal check-up sa takot na malaman yung nabuntis sila or hindi nila alam kung anong gagawin. They're confused. Plus, yung katawan nila, nag-grow na rin. So nag-aagawan sila in a way ng nutrients ng baby niya at inaagaw din ni mommy. So talagang maliliit yung babies nila. And then, prone din sila magkaroon ng pregnancy-induced hypertension. Yung pre-eclampsia, eclampsia, kadalasan dahil nga first time exposed ng katawan ng babae, ng bata, doon sa substances coming from the partner, parang nagkakaroon ng allergic reaction. Ganoon naman po ang pre-eclampsia, eclampsia. It is likened to an allergic reaction. Ang net effect is pagtaas ng blood pressure. So, pwede rin mag-contribute yun sa morbidity and mortality during pregnancy. Okay, pwede din silang prone to infections in general and also hemorrhage.
Thank you very much for the answer. Yung susunod kong tanong, and this has been asked by patients that I co-manage with OB-gynecologists. Kasi ako, I'm a very strong advocate of exercising, whether you're pregnant or not. Pero very clear yung explanation nyo regarding kung ang buntis ay pwede mag-exercise o hindi. Pero yung tanong ko, how about after delivery? how early after delivery pwede ba silang magsimulang mag-exercise ulit? Lalo na kung sila yung tulad ng mga mommies na ang exercise nila is more than just walking.
Usually po, ina-advise namin na bumalik sa usual exercise regimen nila. Ang regimen, baka nagbubuhat o kung talagang nagra-run or nagbe-bike yung patient. 6 months postpartum po. Yun sila
Okay.
bumalik sa kanilang usual na exercise na
So earlier than 6
program.
months, the best
Earlier
that
than 6
we
months,
advise.
hindi naman po yung intensive. They can do walking lang, brisk walking, they can do that. Basta po hindi yung mga nagbubuhat, hindi nag-gym.
Okay, how about mga mga halimbawa mga stretching exercises
Yes,
or
that's okay. Stretching yoga, pwede naman po. Immediately
Okay.
postpartum. Okay.
All right. Sige. Thank you very much. Ngayon, doktora, puntahan naman natin medyo sensitive na konti, no? But it's realistic. Kasi in the first place, kaya sila nagbuntis, nagkaroon sila ng sexual intercourse, nag-sex. All right? And you said sa lecture mo, and I think it was very clear, that it's safe to have sex for as long as hindi threatened abortion. So meaning, whatever stage ng pregnancy, pwede silang magtalik ng mag-asawa. Kasi remember na it's also a physiologic need, okay? Especially for the husband, all right? Hindi ko sabihin husband lang kasi may mga partner lang eh, okay? Ngayon, how about as the pregnancy progresses? Ano bang mga paraan? Ayokong i-presume na alam naman nila yan eh, gagawa na nila ng paraan, but can you just, help us expound as the abdomen gets bigger, nagpo-protrude yung pregnancy, anong paraan ang mas safer for the mother?
Yun nga, talagang pwedeng-pwede naman siya as long as wala yung mga pagdurog or preterm labor na sinasabi. The spooning,
Alright.
if i-mention ko po, yung
So, from the
basta
back.
nasa likod. Yes, nasa likod po
Oo.
yung husband. Kasi definitely, hindi nyo ma-imagine kung nasa harap siya.
Doktora May, nakita ko kasi yung line-up nating mga workups, especially during the first visit, medyo madami.
Yes, ma'am.
At sabihin na natin na majority ng ating kababayan cannot afford sila. So kung halimbawa sasabihin natin, baka isang reason din yun, ba't ayaw nilang magpa-check up? Ang dami-daming i-request sa akin, hindi ko naman magagawa. Wag na lang kaya ako magpa-check up. Because it's a reality, may iba dyan, kung kailan manganganak na lang, doon pa magpapa-ultrasound. Okay? Nagde-labor na, minsan nagpapa-ultrasound pa. So ano bang minimum at least na work-up ang kailangan ng ating mga pregnant na kababayan na para masabi na eto medyo sapat na to. If you want to move forward, can afford ka, walang problema. The haves, we have no problem with. Yung mga have-nots, anong mga minimum na kailangan nila?
So, kung i-check natin kung ano yung pwede nilang ipagawa, okay, CBC at least, definitely, kahit ano namang sakit tayo, may CBC, marami nang masasabi yan sa atin. Yung urinalysis, yun nga ma'am, I've mentioned na ideally, culture studies ang ipapagawa. But yun, umaangal sila sa cost ng culture study. So, urinalysis, pwede na rin. Screening for hepatitis, syphilis, and HIV. At least yung tatlong yon. And then, sugar dahil high risk nga tayo, at saka yung blood typing. Siguro yun ma'am. And the ultrasound, na first trimester scan, yung TransV, yung sa puwerta dinadaan yung probe, yun yung maganda sana as baseline na lab examinations or diagnostics sa ating pasyenteng mga nagtitipid or limited ang budget.
Okay. And I do know na pag ang patient natin pumunta sa ating klinikang bayan, basta patient ka sa klinikang bayan natin identified, meron ka 20% discount kung ano yung diagnostic na i-request sa'yo. Can you share with us a Facebook page or maybe a contact number that our patients can, lalo na sa OPD, sa ating klinikang bayan?
So, ito po, sa ating mga kababayan na lalo na ngayong pandemya na hindi makakapunta sa clinic at madalas may mga times na nagsasara kami, share ko lang po yung pwede ninyong contact. Ito po yun. So, sa mga buntis na nais magpa-teleconsult, yan po ay minaman ng aming mga residente. Ito po yung step-by-step na maaring gawin para po ma-accommodate kayo sa aming OPD. If you plan to deliver sa Lasal or sa UMC, para din po matulungan na hindi na-expose na sa virus ang ating mga buntis.
So, Dr. May, thank you very much. I think we've had a very productive session. Meron ka bang last words that gusto mong bitiwan sa ating mga tagapakinig?
Siyempre, it's about prenatal care. So that's my topic. No? Sa lahat ng mga buntis, importante, napaka-importante po ng prenatal care. Hindi naman po kailangang ubi ang titingin sa inyo. Pwede nga pong kumonsulta kahit nga sa barangay health worker, or sa nurse or sa general practitioner, pwede kayong pumunta doon as long as they're trained to give the prenatal care. Pwede po. Importante meron. Lalo na ngayong pandemya, kahit po pandemya, marami pong paraan para magpatingin sa doktor. Again, healthy mothers will produce healthy babies. So kailangan, very important ng prenatal care.
Thank you very much, Dr. May. At paalala din lang sa ating mga kababayan, 9 na buwan yung idadalang tao. Kaya yung paghahanda, may panahon kayo. Walang excuse na hindi nyo paghandaan ang inyong pagbubuntis at hindi kayo magpa-check up. Okay? So thank you very much, Dr. May. I'd like to invite our viewers to visit our Find Your Doctor webpage for clinic schedules ng mga OB-gynecologists namin dito sa Lasal, as well as their contact information. I'd like to invite everyone to like and follow the official DLS UMC Facebook page, as well as visit our website at www.dlshsi.edu.ph/DLS-UMC. Also, please visit the DLS UMC YouTube channel so that you can take a look at our advisories as well as update on the services of our hospital. Okay, so again, reminding everyone, we're here to help you know more about what you need to know as we help you in nurturing your health. Ito po muli si Dr. Ardit Tan, ang inyong pansamantalang host for MedChat, your health questions answered. Please take care. And let's continue until episode 17. Let's continue to follow minimum health standards, whether you're vaccinated or not. And until we can achieve our herd immunity, wear your face masks. Okay, we just got recent news na yung face shield, baka hindi na kailangan gamitin sa labas, but within the institution, I suggest that we still use it, practice frequent hand hygiene, and also practice social distancing. We care about you, so please care for yourself. Stay safe. Goodbye, everyone.